And welcome to a special edition of the Throwing Bagels podcast. I guess we could call this super salty bagel edition of the podcast. I'm Kevin Moody, and with us is Chris Douglas. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, hey, Jay. Jay Hamo with us as well.
Hey, Kevin. What's up?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what's up. So this news just came out. We record this on a Monday night as we're talking. So this airs Wednesday. So Monday night when we record, the news broke yesterday, over the weekend, that Brent Axe, who was a longtime talk show host on ESPN Syracuse, was unceremoniously let go from ESPN Syracuse, and he was our first podcast guest back a couple of months ago in early January. And so the statement was, the company that owns ESPN Syracuse is Galaxy, and the CEO of Galaxy announced that he was letting Brent go because of persistent negative commentary about Syracuse. And that has really caused a lot of people it's been a great point of discussion on Twitter, on social media, all throughout the central New York area. And it's even had reach on Twitter. People like Keith Olbermann and Bill Simmons have chimed in about it. And really the overall sentiment is that this was unjust, and Brent deserved a whole lot better than to be let go by phone after being there for 8 years or so, hosting a hell of a talk show, mind you. And that's
drive time talk show.
Drive time 4 to 6 weekdays. So guys, I mean, really, it's just too bad. It's an unfortunate situation because, I mean, I did work with Brent when he was a host at WHEN about 20 years ago. Man, 20 years ago. But when that was a sports talker, a sister of WSYR, where I worked. And I would produce, I remember doing he would do pregame for Syracuse University football, because at that time, HEN did not have rights to the SU broadcast. So, I got to work with him as he prepped for the pregame show and interacted with fans. And I mean, I got to tell you, Brent is one of the most knowledgeable people to ever grace the airwaves at Syracuse. And so I think, my opinion, of course, he entirely got railroaded, and he deserved a lot better than what happened.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Everything you said is spot on, Kevin. There was an article on Syracuse.com today written by Chris Carlson, laid out all the facts of quotes from the CEO, from Galaxy Media Partners, and quotes from Brent Axe as well. And I want to read the very first quote that's in this story, because it's if this doesn't tell you and encapsulates everything about what is wrong with how media operates, then I don't know what is. And I'm quoting, "I had a problem," and this is Ed Levine, by the way. "I had a problem with the content of the show," Levine said. "I'm a SU fan. I'm sorry, but I bleed orange." I'm going to stop right there. As someone that owns a media company, isn't it their job to be unbiased? Right? Isn't that the whole reason that Brent got let go, is because he was, quote unquote, unbiased?
I mean, you would think so. That's generally the point of the media, right? Free speech, First Amendment, but unfortunately it's not always that way.
I mean, now, for the three of us here did not grow up in Syracuse, okay? So we kind of have a different perspective about Syracuse athletics. I love Syracuse athletics. Don't get me wrong. I think Jim Boeheim is one of the greatest coaches to ever coach college basketball. Also, he has one national championship in the 47 years that he's coached. And in the last 10 years, he's been to one Final Four? So all of that said, Brent was making great points on the radio by saying, hey, we need to think about changing things up. And hey, the team kind of stinks, because they do. They stink.
Yes.
We discussed this a couple weeks ago, right? When we were playing play-by-play guys for Oswego hockey, right? People didn't necessarily like you you talk badly about the team, and we weren't even that bad, and Brent wasn't that bad. Brent specifically made points. They're not playing well. They're not playing the way they're expected to play. They're Syracuse University, right? There's standards when it comes to basketball for Syracuse University. That's like saying Alabama football, right? Alabama football stinks. You don't think people are going to rip them?
100%.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what this is. People expect Syracuse to play a certain way. Now, have they had their hiccups throughout the years? Of course. They've been a 2 seed that lost to a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're not they were one of the first, but they're not the last. It happened. Mm-hmm. It's happened multiple times. Get over it. People move on. People are still cheering for them. People come to the games and people root for them, and it continues. But people want to see a good team on the court, and they're just not the greatest team right now. They're not the Carmelo Anthony teams. They're not the Jerry McNamara teams. They're not the Derek Coleman teams. You know what I mean? They're just not right now, and they need to get back to that level. And that's what people need to see. It doesn't matter if you went to Syracuse University. It doesn't matter if you're one of us who didn't go to Syracuse University, but follows them. Syracuse has always marketed themselves as New York's team, New York State's team. We all grew up in New York State, right? But they can't take some criticism.
You could argue Staten Island's not part of New York, but that's a whole other discussion.
But yeah, okay, Joe. Okay, Chris, whatever. So, but to your point, Jay, there are we have standards, and you know what? It's like you expect better from you have Syracuse basketball. By all means, has set a very high bar for itself, based on performance over the past several decades, and of late, Syracuse has fallen short of that bar, and I think people have a right to be upset. Now, I think mostly it's people who are calling talk radio shows to complain about how bad they are. And so you have different subsets of fandoms, right? For SU or for any college or for any team for that matter.
Sports in general, period.
Yeah. You have your fair weather fans who really bad. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll buy the hat. I'll stuff it in the closet. I'll bring it out once in a while. Yeah. Go SU. They have their pom-poms ready, for whenever. And then you have your diehards. And these are the men and women that really love these teams, and they get upset when they're not playing well. And they want to talk about it. They want to talk about it with a guy like Brent Axe, who knows what he's talking about and has seen it all. And he's there for them. It's like a form of therapy. And he should have the freedom to do that. I think any good radio, and I mean, after listening to WFAN growing up, there's nothing better than a horrible loss to make for great radio. It just happens. Like, if it's all roses and sunshine, it's boring from a radio perspective. I mean, you want that. You want that interaction, and you understand that it's not all great, and that there are sometimes they fall short, and you need to talk about what they can do to get back to where they once were.
But the thing is, right? The thing, and the other thing that really gets me at this point, right, is Jim Boeheim, 47 years as coach of Syracuse University, right? He's had his ups and downs. He's taken some teams to the Final Four that had no reason being there,
right?
No reason being there. But you know what? That 2-3 zone that they play, that offense, they just managed to do it. A lot of the times, the Syracuse teams that weren't expected to do anything in the tournament were the teams that did the best in the tournament, right? And now he's on his way out. He's not happy that Brent Axe is saying that they're not playing well, and he's vocal about it and mentioning it literally at a press conference, mentioning it. And then it turns out he owns 21% of Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, if there's not a conflict of interest there, like you know what I mean? Like, Ed Levine and Jim Boeheim are boys. Like, so all this is just a big coincidence, right? That Boeheim is quote unquote retired. You can argue about or speculate about, was he forced out? Was he not forced out? Whatever. He's not coaching anymore. He's friends with Ed Levine. He's got a 21% stake in the company. And oh, by the way, he's going to be doing a bunch of radio and television hits for Galaxy.
Don't say.
Oh my God. What a great coincidence. Oh, and I'm going to call Brent Axe by phone and let him go instead of actually having a man-to-man meeting with him. Grow a pair, dude. Get over yourself. Seriously.
It's baffling. It just I don't get it. And as we said, there's multiple outlets. It's been picked up everywhere. USA Today talked about this, right? I think Chris mentioned it, right? It's Keith Olbermann tweeted about it. The New York Post tweeted about it. This is not one of those, it's a local radio station. Usually a firing of a drive time local radio guy does not get much airtime. Right.
It's just the manner of how it happened.
Right. But this one has legs and it's not going anywhere.
And it shouldn't, because first of all, how can you, I mean, basically you're censoring somebody, right? I mean, this is what it comes down to. I mean, we're talking about, this is the First Amendment. You get to talk about whatever hell you want, whether you agree with it or not. And because Boeheim is crying over here, no, my guy hurt my feelings. Oh,
yeah.
Brent Axe all of a sudden doesn't have a job. Ridiculous. It's absurd. All the quotes from Ed Levine, I mean, gross, just gross.
Well, yeah, for him to state in that Syracuse.com article that he or his company doesn't have an agenda, and then the immediate next sentence basically admits that he's in bed with Syracuse University. I mean, does that not speak agenda to you? Does that not indicate the kind of agenda that they have?
Right. And then to say that they want people to talk about Syracuse the way Brent talked about the Buffalo Bills. I don't see Syracuse winning 13 games a season and going to the AFC Championship game. You know what I mean? Now, do you think Brent Axe ripped them after they lost to Cincinnati in the divisional round? I'm sure as hell sure he did. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know for a fact he was not happy about that. Right.
No, but also, like, to your point though, Jay, like, he does talk about Syracuse sports like he does about the Buffalo Bills. He's very objective.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this is. Like, he was very objective about everything Syracuse sports related.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong
Buffalo's
with that.
doing well. So you think he was nice about Buffalo, 6 years ago?
Oh my God.
I'm sure he was not. I'm sure he was
dumpster
not.
fire.
Through the Rex Ryan era. Yeah, exactly.
Oh God.
And to that point, if Syracuse basketball had picked up 22, 23 wins a season for the past 5 years, Brent would still have a job.
Absolutely.
That's the end of the story.
That's exactly right.
If Syracuse football routinely made bowl games, which, I mean, they have made a fair, not like Paul Pasqualoni level bowl games, but they have snuck in there here and there the past few years. But again, if SU football averages 10 wins a year and wins the bowl game, does Brent still have a job? Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that SU basketball had a losing season for the first time since the Stone Age
last year,
year, and then 2 games above 500 this year. What else? What are you going to do? Sugarcoat it? Say, well, wait till next year. You can't do that.
But that's what's going to happen now. That's what's going to happen now. That's exactly what's going to happen now.
In a way, they've made a disastrous business decision by pulling, a talk show host that generates interest and ears, right?
Yes.
You want to draw interest in your station. And now if you're just going to have some milquetoast rah-rah fest.
But at the same time, just playing devil's advocate for a second here, right?
Sure.
Taking away, right? You're doing this, you're making this change that most people, I'm not gonna say nobody, because I'm sure there's obviously a few people out there that agree with it, but a lot of people don't agree with. A lot of people think is wrong, right? The Syracuse University is not going to lose fans over this. Like, just not, right? They're not going to lose fans over this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's giving Galaxy, it's giving Levine, it's giving Boeheim, it's giving them just press. And what's the old saying? Any news is good news, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? You don't think he's going to make money off of this anyway, right?
Oh no, it's definitely.
He's going to start printing money even more now, because sometimes when you're the villain, It's even better for you.
Fair point.
I mean, that's part of the reason this move is happening too, right? I mean, it's about money because Boeheim is going to get you money. He's going to get you listeners. And all of the, Kevin, as you said, the rah crowd is going to be on Boeheim's side. But for us that, we're in this industry, we have concerns about this sort of thing because now you're not letting somebody that has the right to say what they want to say and doing it very well and objectively.
Right.
That's the part that really is bothersome. It's really bothersome.
It is, because people who listen to Brent, they want, that's what they want. They want it to be down the middle, or they want it to be honest. They want it to be honest because you can tell when you're BSing.
Right.
You can tell. And Brent wasn't much for that. So I just hope, all in all, what really frustrates me about the whole thing is it just feels like it's Goliath stomping on David, and that's really what it feels like to me. Where, Jim Boeheim, for crying out loud, just bought a $5 million lakeside mansion in Skinny Atlas, and Ed Levine certainly is, he's head of a successful company, which, to give them credit, I mean, they do focus on local hosts, local topics when they could have easily just flipped the switch to ESPN and go all syndication all the time. So there's credit there, but still, I just think this could have been handled a whole lot better,
of course,
than the way it played out.
Let me just read. I'm just going to read one tweet. One tweet to you guys from I happen to see this one, and it's from a I don't want to say a nobody, but it's from a normal human being, right? Just a normal listener.
Can we guess who it is?
What's that?
You'll have no idea. You'll have no idea who it is. I just happened to see this on Twitter. He writes, so either Brent ruffled too many feathers at SU with his criticism of how they handled JB, or Galaxy was just waiting to pull the plug on him once hoops was over. I didn't always agree with Axe, but he was the only one on the station that wasn't a complete SU shill.
Perfect.
And that's what they're looking for. And guess what's that now they're going to hire someone to fill that spot that's going to do that. So you got what you want.
Right.
And that's a perfect example of someone saying, I listen to Brent all the time. I like him. He doesn't always say things that I agree with, but he does it in a great way, and makes it, honestly, it makes it palatable. Right. So you may not agree or disagree, just like anyone else. You might agree with some things, you might not agree with others, but all in all, you have to give credit where credit is due. And Brent did a heck of a program. And
that's the point of talk radio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
100%. And it's interesting that you say what you just said, because Adam Weitzman, and we all know Adam Weitzman's a big time booster for Syracuse, and whatever your opinion is of him, fine. But I wanted to read his tweet because in response to the Carlson and Syracuse.com piece that he wrote today. No reporter has ever spoken more negatively about me than Brent Axe. And even though I don't know him well personally, I still believe strongly in a journalist's right to express free speech and hate to see someone lose their job over his opinions, whatever they may be. Perfect. I mean, that's the perfect encapsulation of this whole situation. Especially
coming from someone like him who's, got the ears of everyone
literally
at SU, you know what I mean?
Literally everybody.
Like whatever he wants, he gets pretty much.
Yeah. And Dom Izzo, when we had him on, he kind of alluded to how, because I asked him, hey, I've noticed a lot of colleges just starting to really do their own broadcasting in-house. So they are having their own people call games. And with that arrangement, you're probably more likely to not be critical of the team. And so now you're in this dangerous situation where, okay, Jim Boeheim owns 1/5 of this media conglomerate. So now how careful do I have to be? Can we even let callers be critical? Can they call in and be critical of SU?
Yeah. Where does it stop?
I mean, where does it end?
Exactly.
I just don't think it does. I just don't. It's there'll be another person that gets this that gets it at some point in time. That's not a shill, and that's it. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants. That's the point. He owns the company. That's one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest things that I heard someone say today, which is a cop out. But he owns the company. He can do whatever he wants. Sure, you're right. He can do whatever he wants. It's not about what he can do and how he can do it. It's about the integrity that comes with it, right? And being able to just growing a thick skin and just sometimes listening to some things that you don't like and dealing with it. And saying, all right, I don't like this. I don't agree with it, but you know what? I'll deal with it. And it gets good radio at the same time.
Of course. Yeah. And also, if you take a step back, this is not dissimilar to situations where, like, for instance, ESPN and the NFL kind of collide, where there's this huge concussion story, right? And how does ESPN cover it? Because they're in bed with the NFL and their partners, and how do you navigate that sort of thing? So, but, it's kind of the same sort of thing where now that Brent was never afraid to say anything.
Yeah.
But now, like, who are you going to have in that slot, if anybody for that matter, to talk common sense about the reality of where Syracuse athletics is?
Mm-hmm. It would be interesting to see what happens when it comes to filling that time slot. I mean, it seems pretty clear that Jim Boeheim is not going to be a full-time talk show host by any means. He'll be making some occasional appearances, but I mean, this really kind of reshuffles the deck from a Syracuse fan perspective, because they had been going with Brent. I mean, many people listening to Brent probably followed him over from when he was at WHEN. And then followed him to ESPN Syracuse, and so they're going to follow him wherever he goes next. Yep. I'm sure that he won't be on the sidelines for long.
And this is an honest question. I'm really curious. Is Boeheim, like, let's say he does do some radio spots, right? How interesting is that going to be? Like, honestly, it can't be that interesting, right? I mean, he just moans and groans in press conferences, and if it's anything like that, and who the hell is going to want to listen to that?
Hey, Jimmy, what'd you have for dinner last night? Oh, that's great. Great choice, Jimmy.
Well, also, apparently, Ed Levine is also on the New York State Broadcasters Association board, which kind of is weird because, he's on a broadcasting board, right? The board of a broadcasting association. I
don't know if that's uncommon, though.
No, but it's more of the fact that you're on a board for a broadcasting association, but you're firing a talented broadcaster who does his job the right way, and not,
well, and let's talk about the college university that Brent was covering, Syracuse University, which is known globally for churning out some of the finest journalists that in the country, if not the world. And they are, and they graduate with an intensity on getting it right, and to speak truth to power, and to tell it like it is. Now, maybe I'm just being naive. Maybe Syracuse University grads don't actually have that mindset. Maybe I'm just hoping that they do. But I know that that's what I had when I graduated, and it's just to be able to speak freely and call the situation like you see it. But all in all, Brent's just showing that he's a total class act with all this.
Absolutely took the high road.
Yes.
100%.
And you expect nothing less. I don't expect anything else. Anything less from him. And I would love to sit down with him and have a beer sometime and really talk about it.
Sure.
But it's sad because it's good that he has a full-time job. So this was but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if someone else comes in and picks him up now. He could parlay this if he really wanted to.
And he will. He'll land on his feet. I have no doubt about that. And I'm not going to tell people what to do, but maybe he should get into the podcast business. Just throwing that out there. You're your own boss, baby.
Yes. I did see comments as when Brent posted on social media. He's like, "Oh, please start your own podcast." I'm sure if he did that, presto,
for sure.
Instant success.
I'm actually surprised he doesn't already have one, to be quite honest with you.
It'd just
He's
be
a busy
time
guy.
thing.
Yeah.
I just
Time
I
thing.
just find it very hard that he'll get credentialed to go to Syracuse basketball games anymore, though.
I know what happened. Yeah, what happens now?
That'll be interesting.
That should
That'll
be
be a
Or
very
Syracuse
interesting
athletics in
situation.
general, right? So
I guess we'll wait and see. I know the seasons are winding down right now, but it should be interesting to see what happens when the autumn rolls around. And I don't think Syracuse will go that
lacrosse is
far.
going on right now, right? They're
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're not having the
Yeah,
greatest
they're
season.
having an average season, I think.
Exactly. They're not having a Syracuse University season either.
But you know what? They haven't had a Syracuse University season since they won a national championship in 2009. That's how long it's been since this amazing program, right? Everyone rants Syracuse University lacrosse is the best. 2009 is the last time they won a national championship. And that's our point is it's okay to be objective about Syracuse athletics. This is the only thing. There's no real professional sports around here, right? You have the Syracuse Crunch, you have the Syracuse Mets, minor league teams. But everyone cares. Like, that is the only thing people talk about here in Syracuse is Syracuse basketball, Syracuse football. And that's all they care about. And that's why this is important. It's okay to have the objective voice. And now you're not going to get that. At least not from Brent anyway.
Right.
Given that platform that he had.
Every year when the Syracuse Mets do, they have an open house. And actually we are going to talk with Syracuse Mets general manager Jason Smorrell coming up in the next week on the Throwing Bagels podcast. I think we're chatting with him next week. Yes. During that annual open house that they have in early March, they talk about, where did the Syracuse Mets fit in as far as attendance to Syracuse area events? And for the first time, I don't know if Jason mentioned it was the first time ever or the first time in so many years, but 2022 was the first time that attendance at Syracuse Mets games surpassed that of either SU football or SU basketball. Wow. And that kind of, and yes, there are more games. There are more Syracuse Mets games, but the dome is a lot bigger, and they can hold they can hold a week's worth of fans in one night as opposed to the Syracuse Mets. So the fact that the S Mets drew more people than either SU program, I think speaks to how they're losing interest. Fans are finding something else to do with their time, and they're having a lot more fun going to a Syracuse Mets game where, to be honest, the outcome really doesn't matter because it's just a great experience for families and for people, and their kids. So, yeah, I mean, that's it is. You kind of sense that because success has been lagging for a few years now in a row, that fans are just like, I'm just going to find something else to do with my time. Now, if Syracuse tomorrow starts getting things back together, the dome will be packed, and of course, Syracuse Mets attendance will fall down to number 2 or somewhere in that area. But that's just the way things are going right now. And, the fact is you have to mention that should be mentioned. I'm not sure if Galaxy would interpret that as criticism, but I don't know what else. I don't know how it could have been handled any differently without being a homer.
Yeah, just remember, folks, Donovan McNabb's not walking through that door. John Wallace is not walking through that door. Derek Coleman's not walking through that door, people.
Ronnie Cycley's not walking through that door.
Right. It's not the same anymore. Times have changed, Syracuse has never been the big football school in general. Like, they've never been the big football school. They've had good years. They've had a couple sustained stretches, but they've never been an Alabama or, a Michigan or UCLA or USC or Texas. But basketball, on the other hand, like we said, is always, they've always been up there. That's why they went to the ACC. That's why they left the Big East, which they never should have done. But that's why they left the Big East, to go play Duke and North Carolina and all those other big time basketball programs.
Do you know what athletic program at Syracuse University has benefited the most from going to the ACC?
Because you asked that question, I'm going to say soccer.
100% soccer. You know what happened last year with Syracuse soccer?
I think they won the national championship.
They won the national championship. Do you know how many national championships Syracuse soccer has and how many Syracuse basketball has?
The same amount.
That's exactly right. I just wanted to throw it in there.
And that's been over a long period of time.
All right. Well, I think did we get it all out of our system?
I think we got it all out.
I think we
Yeah.
did.
We were more
Okay.
sensible than we were over text this morning.
Yeah. Or last night. Yeah.
Oh man.
Good thing we didn't do this last night.
Yeah.
Cooler heads prevailed.
Yes. Cooler heads prepared. We brought a little more perspective. And
We hope
did.
anyway. We hope.
We hope. All right. Well, that'll do it for this bonus super salty bagel edition of the Throwing Bagels podcast. You can catch us online anytime at throwingbagels.com. You can email us at throwingbagelspodcast@gmail.com. And please head to our website because Chris just posted our first blog entry on our website. We're starting a blog, and it is a fantastic article, Chris. Thank you for sharing that with the world. So please,
thank you for the kind words.
So please check that out when you can. And we will talk to you next time on throwingbagels.com. Chris, we'll see you next time, right?
Yes,
You'll be
yes,
here.
we will.
Okay.
I will be
Jay,
here.
will you be here too?
Can't get rid of me. I'm not going anywhere.
All right, then. We won't try. Bye, everyone.